With its 136,000 square foot Tampines megastore in eastern Singapore and 66 other outlets in Singapore and Malaysia, Quartz would seem to be a retailer on solid footing. It is now, but only after some recent corporate turmoil. The details were laid out by Quartz Asia CEO Terry O'Connor at an SAS-NUS Business School alumni breakfast. It's a turnaround story, and the end is still being written. Quartz is a 162-year-old retailer founded in England as a homewares and general goods store. For much of its history, Quartz focused on furniture, later adding electronics and IT products to its retail offerings. In 2004, the parent company in the UK went into administration, and the Asia business was sold to a private equity firm. O'Connor told the alumni it was both a scary and an exhilarating time.
And the challenge overnight came to say, well, we need to convince the media, our business partners, and everyone that could potentially have a destabilizing effect on our business that we're still in business, we're not reliant on the UK, there are no warranties or guarantees in place, we can pay our bills, and we're still here for the long haul. And I personally, I guess, needed to persuade my team that I was here for the long haul.
Looking at the operations in Southeast Asia, it became apparent that although it was one company, it was running four very different businesses. Singapore was profitable, Malaysia was ripe for a turnaround, Indonesia was losing money, and Thailand was struggling. Working with Bain Consultants, Quartz Asia developed a blueprint for the company's future. That involved shutting down the operation in Thailand, getting out of Indonesia for the time being, and focusing on Singapore and Malaysia.
It felt like we had a steep mountain to climb, but it also felt that it was worth it, and that we could move from essentially being a corporate team reporting to head office to more of an entrepreneurial and strategic unit that were masters of our own destiny.
It was a data-driven exercise tracking performance to be sure the short-term pain would be worth it in the long run.
It was really about, getting clarity on the plan and then being absolutely focused on the execution of the plan and making sure that we had enough metrics on the underlying business to see that whilst we're making immediate decisions which are going to take our profitability down, we've got visibility of the future profitability that will create.
The goal was to build Quartz Asia into a highly profitable, affordable lifestyle retailer. The strategy quickly produced results.
We are currently 2 years ahead of plan, and the blueprint was more than accomplished.
O'Connor doesn't take all the credit for the success. Everyone in the company was clear on the plan and clear that they had a role to play.
I think it's important to bring people along with you, to be very democratic about sharing information, to be very inclusive about people's contribution to the plan, so they see it very much as we're in this together and it's our plan, and therefore they build in their own accountabilities for execution because it came from them.
Open communication is very much a part of O'Connor's management style. He says it started when he was a buyer negotiating with vendors. Now it's just the way he is, inside and outside the company.
I think when you want to build a brand, you've got to open yourself to the media, and when you open yourself to the media, you've got to be prepared to talk about what you're really, really good at. You've also got to be prepared to talk about things that go wrong. And I think we've built that reputation for transparency because, no subject's too hard to talk about.
And even though he's the company CEO, he still spends time on the retail floor and listens personally to customer feedback, including some he received at the breakfast.
I was a loyal customer of Quartz until 5 years ago.
I'd be delighted if you give us a second chance, and perhaps if we fail again, then you can call me personally.
The next chapter of the Quartz turnaround story likely will be written in Indonesia. O'Connor says the company left on good terms when it exited a few years ago. Now he says that vast consumer market is ripe for a Quartz type of operation.
We believe when we open in Indonesia, we should open with all of the learnings from history of the Singapore and Malaysian operations. Malaysia, the learnings will largely be around consumer credit, and Singapore will largely be around big box retailing. And if we put those two things together in low-cost real estate, we'll have a compelling proposition.
The story of Quartz Asia's turnaround is complex, but O'Connor boils it down to a few key factors.
I think, we delivered virtually every single component of our plan, sometimes ahead of plan, sometimes on plan, and a couple of items behind plan. But the aggregate of all of that has been very successful, and it's been because of complex strategy simply presented, and a rigorous focus on execution.
For NUS Business School, I'm Katie Sargent.